On the timeline, on the timeline. History, geopolitics, and the future yet to come. Ask questions, explore time.
Looking at the Bay of Bengal, just 55 kilometers north of India's Andaman Islands, sits the tiny Coco Islands. Satellite imagery captures the construction. The 1,400-meter dirt airstrip is now a 2,300-meter concrete runway, and a new over-the-horizon radar system tracks deep into Indian airspace. This new concrete strip is large enough to land heavy military transport planes and advanced Chinese combat aircraft like the J-10 fighter jet. While the Coco Islands belong to Myanmar, they host no commercial tourism or major trade. Instead, intelligence agencies have tracked Chinese engineers and heavy machinery building out the site. This island has become a forward operating base designed for one purpose: monitoring the Indian Navy. To understand why Beijing is focused on a tiny island, we have to look at the broader Indian Ocean. This water is the main artery of global trade, carrying half of all container shipping and 40% of the world's oil.
This map highlights China's vulnerability. 80% of their crude oil must funnel through the Malacca Strait, a bottleneck narrowing to just 2.8 kilometers. At its western exit, India controls a chain of 572 islands stretching 800 kilometers, forming a physical barricade over China's supply route. If a conflict broke out, the Indian Navy could block that narrow exit. Closing the Malacca Strait for just 10 days would halt Chinese factories and empty their gas stations. That reality dictates Beijing's entire maritime strategy. To bypass this vulnerability, China is executing a strategy known as the String of Pearls. They are financing a ring of deep-water allied ports across Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. At the Kyaukphru port in Myanmar, China invested $7.3 billion to build a facility that connects to direct land pipelines. This allows them to pump oil straight into China's Yunnan province, bypassing the Malacca Strait entirely. Further west, a $62 billion investment in Pakistan's Gwadar port places Chinese infrastructure just 400 kilometers away from the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most important oil choke point. These massive loans often come with severe penalties. When Sri Lanka could not repay the $1.4 billion borrowed for the Hambantota port, they were forced to hand over control of the facility to Beijing on a 99-year lease. These projects function as financial leverage. By issuing infrastructure loans that developing nations cannot repay, Beijing converts debt into permanent strategic control of their coastlines. Once the economic footholds are secure, the military assets follow. In 2017, China established its first overseas military base in Djibouti, giving them an armed presence at the gates of the Red Sea. In Cambodia, the expansion of the Ream Naval Base includes new piers designed for the specific weight and depth requirements of heavy destroyers and carriers. Connecting these nodes on the map, from Cambodia through the Coco Islands, down to Sri Lanka and across to Africa, reveals a closing net around the Indian peninsula. Beijing is assembling a blue water naval network. This infrastructure allows them to protect their own oil routes, while simultaneously positioning assets to choke off India's supplies during a conflict. India is countering this encirclement with its own doctrine, the necklace of diamonds. Rather than matching China's infrastructure spending, India is weaponizing its own geography. The center of this defense is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Between 2020 and 2025, India allocated over 15,000 crore rupees to turn this island chain into a fortified maritime wall. The upgrades include a new 3,000-meter runway designed to host P-8I surveillance aircraft, which can track submarines and ships across the entire Bay of Bengal. At the INS Baaz naval base, new radar arrays provide constant direct oversight of every Chinese movement originating from the nearby Coco Islands. By fortifying these islands, India has converted a remote tropical chain into an unsinkable aircraft carrier, a permanent obstacle sitting directly across Beijing's maritime lifeline. As this map shows, India is also securing logistical access through regional partnerships. Unlike the loan-based projects of the String of Pearls, these agreements at Sabang, Dukm, and Chabahar are built on mutual access, allowing Indian ships to resupply and operate across the ocean. This network extends to Western allies, with India sharing intelligence at Diego Garcia with the US and UK,
and conducting joint naval patrols with France from Reunion Island. This diplomatic reach was evident during the 2024 Milan naval exercise. India hosted 51 nations for the drill, a massive gathering that pointedly excluded the Chinese Navy. Beijing is attempting to dominate the Indian Ocean through a strategy of infrastructure debt and isolated outposts. India is countering that checkbook by pairing a formidable geographic barrier with a network of global allies. This strategy demonstrates that in the 21st century, the right geography and the right partners can withstand even the deepest pockets.
I hope you enjoyed this deep dive. If you want to keep exploring history with us, make sure to subscribe to Ask the Timeline and turn on notifications. Every like helps this channel grow and keep